All right, back for round two. Um, so I'm just, I guess, quick thoughts. The Rams didn't look very good yesterday. I mean, the Bills kind of gave them every chance. Um, the Bills really gave them every chance to win with all the turnovers and just kind of sloppy play. James Cook fumble, a couple picks from Josh Allen, but yeah, the Rams just look bad. Could be Allen Robinson isn't very good. Kind of the offensive line didn't play well. I mean, people make a big deal about Whitworth. I thought they'd be able to be okay with a change at tackle, but they might have some problems there. And I probably got to give the Bills defense a little bit more credit. That defensive line was pretty smothering, but we'll see how they play down the stretch. I mean, I guess they did it for a season last year, so I shouldn't still be doubting them. I did quick point of clarification because someone asked me about this. Yeah, I placed a lot of bets on the Raiders. And the thing you got to keep in mind is that not all of these bets are created equal. So I bet Raiders to win the AFC. Do I really think they're going to win the AFC? Probably not. But the odds were plus 2,200. And I used a $5 free bet. So that $5 free bet, if it hits, is $110. And it was a free bet through one of the books anyway. So if you are trying to follow me on any of these bets, don't follow me on Raiders to win the AFC. Follow me on Raiders over 9.5 wins. So I have them at 8.5 wins, which is where it was set. And I teased it up to 9.5 wins in one of the leagues. Feel very confident about that. I probably have up about $100 in different bets on them making at least 10 wins. The other thing is Raiders to make the playoffs is another thing. I think I put like 20, 25 bucks on Raiders to make the playoffs. It was like here, I have it here, $10 to win $30. It was plus 180. Those are the kinds of bets. I feel a lot more confident. If you're going to follow me on those kinds of things. Yeah, so jumping into week one, I have kind of a list here, and I'm still playing with the format. We'll see. I'm probably not going to give any like avoids. I got into a trap where I was kind of doing every single game when I was doing these videos before. I'm just kind of going with bets that I like. I'm not going to mess with any avoids or anything like that. And I don't like all these the same. I'll try to call out the ones that I like a lot. And then, big disclaimer, week one, I get trapped into this every year. I'm excited for football to be back. And I place a bunch of bets week one. Week one is crazy. Weird things happen. We have no idea what the teams are, but it doesn't even matter. You can't go off week one because weird things happen in week one. Like a couple years ago, Saints were coming back as like people had them as a Super Bowl pick. They go out and they dropped a game to Tampa, and Tampa was just god awful. This might have been the year Jameis went off. But I think it was when Fitzpatrick was starting. Sorry, I should have looked at the facts, so it just came to my head. But that's an example of week one things doing weird. Years and years ago, this is what hammered it home for me. Years and years ago, the Vikings played the 49ers week one. And this was like the Jim Tomsula post Jim Harbaugh collapse of the 49ers. Like, they were bad. And they came out and whooped the Vikings. And I think the Vikings went on to have a pretty good season. And the 49ers maybe won one other game the rest of the way. So weird things happen in week one. You can't go off of it. When you're looking at week two stuff, there's just going to be some weird things. But with that disclaimer out of the way, here's one I feel very confident about. Ravens at Jets. And I got them at -6.5. Now, I don't know, people must be forgetting the Ravens. When the Ravens are clicking, that offense, they can run the ball down to people's throats, and they run up the score. Typically during the season when they're, 2 years ago when the Ravens were pretty dominant, or 3 years ago, commonly all season the spreads will be -13, -12, big spreads, and they would hit them a lot of the times. I think they were pretty good against the spread because John Harbaugh likes to win preseason games, and he likes to run up the score when he's winning. And when the momentum gets going on that run heavy offense, things are going well. If you fall behind, that's a different story. You got to pass a lot. They have problems there, but I think they're going to run all over the Jets. The Jets are like the most injured team in football, and they have Joe Flacco starting. Some people are telling themselves as an improvement over Zach Wilson. I don't think so. I think he's going to get eaten alive. I think the Ravens D is really strong. A name I forgot, no, it's something else. So yeah, for the sake of time, we'll keep it moving, but really confident on the Ravens knocking off the Jets in week 1, even though it's at Jets. I run into a trap of picking a lot of road teams, so I don't know how that hurts me or helps me in the long run, but probably hurts me. But I kind of undervalue home and away, so you'll notice kind of a lot of these teams are on the road. Speaking of which, Colts at Texans. This one's a little different. So this is not one I feel particularly confident about, but I felt like I had too many favorites, need an underdog, so I grabbed the Texans plus 7.5 against the Colts. And this could easily blow up in my face. The Colts could show up. Matt Ryan could just play lights out, hit Pittman. He's got a good outline. Hit Pittman, hit Alec Pierce. Jonathan Taylor runs the ball well. But I'm going the other way with it. I think Davis Mills is going to take a step forward in year 2. I think, him, Dameon Pierce, Brandon Cooks are going to be able to play a little bit, and I think they're going to be able to cover the plus 7.5 in a division game at home. So the division game at home, they got their rookie running back. If he shows up, the Colts defensive line's a little banged up. Shaquille Leonard is hurt. His week 1 status in question. He won't be playing at 100% even if he does. And the Colts just have a lot of choke to them, especially during this Frank Reich era. I mean, there's been several games where it's like, what the heck are you doing? Show up at the Jags and lose last week and blow their chances to win the playoffs. You can try to blame Carson Wentz for that, but that is a complete system failure right there. And, there's a game they played against the Ravens where they completely choked that I'll never forgive Frank Reich for, because they show up, they're beating up on the Ravens, who I think they were pretty hurt at the time. I start talking shit at halftime, and then it completely reverses and they blow that game in overtime. And I still have wounds from that. So I think the Colts kind of show up sloppy in week 1, and the Texans are able to cover that 7.5 point spread. But that's like a 1-unit bet. I'm not really hammering that one. 49ers at Bears. This one I kind of warmed up to. Even I picked it, and then as I was kind of doing the little write up, I like this one even more. So 49ers. This is a team that is rock solid, top to bottom. Defensive line, studs. Offensive line, really strong. The run game, Shanahan likes to use different backs, but the run game is really strong. Like they could not pass the ball a single time, and they could run all over this Bears team. And they did that in 2020 against the Packers in the playoffs. Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 8 times, and they destroyed the Packers because their defense was overwhelming, and they couldn't stop the run game. And I think, there's questions about Trey Lance, but they're rolling with Trey Lance. And with that strong defense, with a good O-line and that strong run game, add in Trey Lance with some designed runs, and then some short passes to Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and then maybe some designed runs to Deebo. I think that is more than enough to knock off the worst team in the NFL. Maybe the Seahawks are, but they'll come up later. But I think the 49ers are going to show up ready to play. I think they're such a much better team that any question you have about the quarterback needs to be kind of put aside. The Bears are trash. Justin Fields is going to be running for his life. He's got nowhere to throw. His offensive line is terrible. I think he's going to get eaten alive. My really only fear about this game is if the 49ers just stall out in the red zone and they kick too many field goals, and then maybe there's like a late garbage time touchdown. And then the Bears manage to cover, but I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe some week 1 magic and that, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the 49ers are going to roll them. And I had another thought, but we'll keep moving. Oh yeah, I think this might be a shutout. If I were to if I could get good odds and bet that the Bears don't score any points, I'd be tempted to do it. Eagles at Lions. All right, so the Lions I think are going to be a decent team this year, and the Eagles I think are going to be really good, and that's what it comes down to. So this line, I got Eagles minus 4.5. Right now, Eagles are healthy. They got a really strong defense with Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. They added that rookie, Jordan Davis. I think their D-line, which is already one of the strongest, is going to be really strong. And then the name I forgot the other day was James Bradbury. They brought in James Bradbury from the Giants, who I think he'd been shaky more of recent, but James Bradbury was a really good corner. I think still is a really good corner. And then they got Darius Slay at the other side, who's a little washed, but like kind of as a number two. I think that's still a good veteran to have in that role. Then on offense, you got Jalen Hurts. They've invested in him. He's kind of had an off season where he's the starter. I think he's all right. If you mix in the kind of the danger that he brings running on the ground and then kind of their rotation of just okay running backs, I think they're going to be okay running the ball. They have a really good offensive line. And then through the air, they added A.J. Brown, who's a really good player. He's healthy right now. They got Devonta Smith as a 2, which I think he showed flashes in his rookie year. I like him much better as a deep threat, as a number 2. And then you got Dallas Goddard, who's well above average tight end in the passing game. So, and they're healthier than the Lions are right now. The Lions, I think they're going to be okay. They have a good offensive line that's a little banged up right now. Jared Goff is not great, but he's not bad by any means. I think he can definitely be competent. Their O-line's good, but they're banged up right now. Their defense might be coming up a little bit. I saw some Aiden Hutchinson highlights. We'll see. And Jeff Okudah, people were really hard on him, I thought. I think Jeff Okudah has a chance to still be a good player. But they're a little banged up, and, as much as people are watching Hard Knocks, I think they're this is going to be a below 500 team, and I'll take the Eagles minus 4.5. All right. So next game, we got Saints at Falcons. I'm taking the Saints minus 5.5. This is another team where there's a lot of question marks, and I'm kind of, especially at quarterback, and I'm gonna choose to go with the Saints. I think this is another game that could blow up my face. It's a road division game, week 1, kind of a trap. And you got Jameis Winston, who, if he plays well, obviously could light things up, but he could easily kill this game with a couple poor time turnovers. But I think the Saints got a good defense. They've had a better defense than offense the last couple of years, which took me a long time to adjust to, because back in the day, it was always all offense and no defense back in the Drew Brees glory days. But they've had a good defense, especially against the run, for several years now. Then on offense, you got Jameis Winston, who there's question marks there, but right now they're fully healthy. I think their offensive line, they lost some key Tristan Wirfs, but right now you got Jameis Winston under center, and he can pass. He's shown that he can. We'll see if he can limit the turnovers. But then you got Alvin Kamara, who's healthy, not suspended, gonna play, and then you got Michael Thomas, who's healthy, back, supposedly no issues there from what we're hearing. And then you added Olave and Jarvis Landry, 2 guys who I think are going to be open in the short game all the time. So you have essentially 3 slot. I don't know, they could all play a slot. But you have all these guys that are good in these short routes between Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Olave, and Kamara. That's a lot of options for Jameis. Hopefully that doesn't make it too complex for him. But those guys are going to be open, and those are going to be short down the field. So, and then you got Taysom Hill and some trick plays in there. So, I don't know. I think the Saints are going to be good. And honestly, do I think the Saints are going to be good? We'll see. But honestly, this is more of a bet against the Falcons, because I don't think the Falcons have anything. I think this is another, bottom 5 NFL team. I think Marcus Mariota, we've kind of tried that before on a better team, and he ended up getting beat out by Ryan Tannehill. I think the Falcons got nothing except for Cordell Patterson and Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts is not going to, he might be a good fantasy producer. People like him for that reason, but I don't think he's going to take over a game and win the game for you. So we'll go Saints in that matchup. Although it's got big bust potential, red flags, but we'll see what happens. Browns at Panthers. This is another one that, so initially I didn't want anything to do with this game, because the Browns, they've had a lot of offseason drama. They got Jacoby Brissett starting quarterback. The Panthers, they've had a QB rotation going on. Hard to feel good about them. But I saw that this game the spread had kind of moved all over the place. People can't decide. I saw it right now. I think it's at a pick'em in most places. but I saw it at one just today. I saw it as a pick'em. I saw it as a Panthers or a Panthers plus like -1.5, and I saw it as a Browns -1.5. So people are really kind of going both ways on this one, and I'm going to take the Browns. I got it at +1.5, so I got the Browns as an underdog. They have a solid defense, although they are a little banged up right now. They had a really solid defense. They have a good offensive line, who I think Jack Conklin is hurt, but I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. But they have a good defense, good offensive line. Their offensive system with Kevin Stefanski, they can just run the ball really effectively. And right now, Hunt and Chubb both healthy. Chubb is probably going to run for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns this year, no matter who's at quarterback. And that's the thing. Jacoby Brissett isn't good. I don't think they're going to put up 50 points, but can he be a game manager? I think he can be a game manager. So I think with just the good defensive line, good fundamentals at all the kind of core positions, a solid run game, I think that's going to be enough to kind of run all over the Panthers. And the Panthers they're the real wild card. So I think the whole QB rotation and Baker, Baker's got a revenge game. I think that's more of a detriment. When you're trying to find a new QB every offseason, that's kind of a problem in your organization. So I think that's a negative. I don't think if Baker does kind of come back to have a good season, I think it's going to take him a few weeks to get off the ground. I don't think he's just going to play lights out from week one. They do have some decent wide receivers, DJ Moore, and the real wild card is CMC. Right now, he got listed on the injury report for some shin injury. Doesn't sound like something that's going to keep him out. But Christian McCaffrey, healthy week one, he is a guy who could take over a game and really screw things up for me. But I'm going to take the Browns. I just feel much better about that side of it. I think top to bottom, they have a better roster and are going to be able to kind of shake it off and go out and kind of just run the ball and win the game against the Panthers. And I got them as an underdog. So, as long as they keep it close, I get the win. So the next game I got Vikings versus Packers. So the Vikings at home. So everyone acts like these the Packers have been some unstoppable force in the Matt LaFleur era, and their regular season records have been really good. But if you go back and you look at every time they play a playoff team, they do not play very well. They lose against pretty much every good opponent they play. They get rocked in the playoffs. And I think the Vikings are going to be much better this year. And the Vikings were bad the last 2 years, and they still beat the Packers once. They've split with the Packers the last 2 seasons when they were this big, own the NFC North team. So I think they are much more susceptible than people think. And then they lost their key offensive weapon in Devontae Adams. And Alan Lazard is even on the injury report. So I don't know who is going to be able to, the Vikings cornerbacks suck, but who's Aaron Rodgers supposed to throw the ball to? They're really going to have to lean on Dillon and that run game. And maybe that'll work. The Vikings sometimes have lapses where they just get run on. But I think the Packers' offensive line is banged up, and the Vikings' defensive line is healthy. You got Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter, and people are worried about them being able to stay healthy. Well, right now they are. So this is the time where the Vikings' defense should be performing pretty well. Like I said, the cornerbacks suck, but Packers have no wide receivers. Allen Robinson's hurt. David Bakhtiari's hurt. I think they have another injury on the offensive line. I think the Vikings offense was good. I think it should be even better with Kevin O'Connell and just kind of a change of philosophy, a little more creativity. The offensive line I have not heard people talk about much. The Vikings offensive line has been a problem, but we got Christian Darrisaw coming into his second year, and last year he had like a abdominal injury and it really screwed up kind of his rookie season. But this year, he coming in healthy as far as I know, coming in off a full off season. I think he can take a step forward at left tackle. I feel good about our right tackle, Brian O'Neill. So this is the best I've felt about the O-line in a really long time. We had a rookie, Ed Ingram, win a guard spot in training camp. That makes me a little optimistic. Ezra Cleveland's coming back at our other guard. I think he's okay. And honestly, the one I have the most question marks was Bradbury. James Bradbury? No. Whatever. The center, first round pick center, Garrett Bradbury for the Vikings. He's obviously the biggest question mark. And the Packers defense, I'm not particularly scared of, but Kenny Clark up the middle, he has the potential to really make things difficult for us. So, this could go the other way, but I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to cheer for my Vikings, and I'm actually going to bet on them. Usually I don't bet on them. I didn't even mention Justin Jefferson, by the way, or Adam Thielen, or Dalvin Cook. So, next game I got Titans versus Giants. So there's a home game for the Titans. They're -5.5. The Giants are a bad team. Derrick Henry's healthy. I'm not going to overthink that. The only thing I really worry about with this one, and this is like a 1-unit, $5 bet. The only thing that makes me worried is the Titans under Vrabel. They win a lot of games, but they win close. So there's a pretty good chance that the Giants manage to cover, even if they get completely outmatched. But I'm going to have a little hope, and I think the Titans are going to be able to cover that 5.5 point spread, because the Giants are just not good, not a good football team, and I don't think the coaching change is going to change all that. Then I got Sunday Night Football, Buccaneers versus Cowboys. I'm going to take the Bucs -2.5. There's been a lot of fear, a lot of offseason concerns about the Buccaneers. Tom Brady's absence. Is Goddard going to be healthy? The offensive line had a couple injuries right at the middle. But the Cowboys have their own questions on offensive line. They lost one of their key. Right now they're down 2 of their key wide receivers. And I think the Bucs defense is just significantly better than first of all, the Bucs offense I think is going to be able to perform even with the bad O-line, because they've had to do it. Their O-line has never been strong since Brady's been there, and they've been able to overcome it. I think he gets the ball out quick. I think he can make up, and he did this in New England too. He can make up for a bad O-line, make his O-line look a lot better than they are. And then the Cowboys have their own offensive question marks here. And then on defense, I just think the Bucs defense their defensive line is so good. With Vita Vea, I think Akeem Hicks is there now. Not Tre'Davious White. They got a linebacker, last name White, who's just a monster. They got a lot of good defensive players in that front seven, and I think that's a lot better than what the Cowboys defense brings to the table. They got Micah Parsons, but they got a couple people, but they don't have the kind of depth. And I think both teams are pretty questionable at cornerback, but I have to side with the Bucs here significantly. So I see them at -2.5. I think that's a pretty good bet. The Broncos at Seahawks, Monday Night Football. I don't know how this game happened. Right now it's only at -6.5 Broncos, and I'm gonna take that. I feel pretty good about that. I think the Seahawks are gonna be really, really, really bad at football. Geno Smith starting against Russell Wilson. Going into Seattle, but it's Russell going into Seattle. He's played there before. I think he's going to be okay. The Broncos defense is good. He has some weapons. I think Russell Wilson's going to be able to really put on a show in week 1. I don't really see how the Seahawks could have a path to victory or even covering unless the Broncos really shoot themselves in the foot, which I don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll probably run the ball more than people expect, but they got some good running backs. Javonte Williams looks like a stud, and Melvin Gordon is serviceable, and they can do that, mix in some passes. I think they'll be able to really kind of thwart. And as soon as the Seahawks get behind and they need, what the frick is his name? You know who that quarterback is. As soon as they get behind, they need to pass the ball. They might be benching him for Drew Lock because I don't think that's going to work very well. But anyway, that's all I got. Wish me luck. If you choose to follow me or fade me, good luck to you too. Bet the Ravens, bet the Broncos, bet the Vikings, 49ers for sure. All right, have a good one.